With all due respect to the lovely people, some of whom I'm friends with at Fox News, they don't have a deep bench of based people. They have a few based people, but they don't have a very deep bench. So I'm not sure who's going to replace Tucker Carlson. And what's more, this gets back to the cable news conversation that I mentioned at the very beginning. I'm not sure that this is just a matter of, oh, will Tucker Carlson viewers stick around to watch whoever the replacement host is at 8 p.m.? The cable news industry has faced their mortality for the last 10 years, and they haven't faced it well. The reality of what cable news is facing is that their viewer demographic is in their late 60s and early 70s. They're not going to be around forever, and the cable news model has not adapted to new media. It hasn't adapted to how millennials liked to get their news when millennials were like the young generation, which was on short video clips and on their phones, on YouTube. It certainly hasn't adapted to how Gen Z gets their news, which is on TikTok and Snapchat and these other type of apps that just give news in little bits and pieces. Cable news has never adapted to this. So as their viewer demographic has aged, they have not recruited new viewers to replace those who are aging out. This is a fundamental threat to their business model. Of course, you can't have a business if you don't have consumers. What they did is they tried to put their content, their hour-long cable news shows on apps so that you could view it on your show, but still at the same time that it airs live, not on demand like millennials like, not in small chunks like Gen Z like. They just didn't adapt properly, basically. That's why we saw CNN Plus go up in flames, because no one wanted it. No one was interested in it. A lot of conservatives have cut the cord on cable because they think cable news is trash. Not just cable news, cable in general. Cable programming is trash. Cable news isn't what they want to watch anymore. They've cut the cable and they just do on-demand services. And I think what we're about to see is an acceleration of the death of cable news, or at least an acceleration of the crisis moment for cable news, because what's about to happen is conservatives who only had cable news because of Tucker Carlson, not because of Fox News as a whole, but only because of Tucker Carlson, are going to cancel their subscriptions. They don't watch anything else on cable. They are not loyal enough to Fox as a brand anymore. They were just loyal to Tucker Carlson. They're going to start canceling their subscriptions. And so we're going to see this parallel economy emerge, a parallel economy that where conservatives don't have cable at all and liberals do. But it's not going to, even the liberals who do have cable aren't going to support CNN and MSNBC, because CNN and MSNBC, half of their programming is just bashing Fox News, right? Half of their programming is refuting just Tucker Carlson, not Fox News in general, but just Tucker Carlson. And without a sparring partner, that business model also becomes obsolete. Plus, it's just the aging viewer demographic. So I don't think this is just a crisis moment for Fox News itself and its brand and their brand. I think this is a crisis moment for cable news in general, for cable news as a whole. And I don't know what's going to happen. But it's one of the reasons that I left cable news. I know a lot of people asked me at the time, why are you leaving cable news? Why are you going independent? That's a huge risk. And it is. It was a huge risk. I guess it's not a risk anymore, because we've been very fortunate with your help to be successful. But it was a huge risk at the time to leave cable news, to leave the security of that paycheck, to start your own business, your own company, and invest and see, is this something that consumers want? Is this going to be financially feasible? Is this going to be as successful, as the paycheck that you get from cable news? But one of the reasons that I made that decision and that I was so confident in that decision is because I could see the writing on the wall with cable news. I could see that while it's very valuable to talk to a loyal audience, I'm not trying to write off boomers who watch cable news in any way, shape, or form. They're very valuable voters. They have enormous contributions still to make to our country. I could see that if we want to impact not just those voters who usually are pretty set in the way that they vote, they're loyal to one party or the other, if we want to shape the minds of the next generation of voters who eventually are going to be the ones governing our country, then we have to go to the media platform where they exist already. We're not going to just convince them to watch cable news. In fact, even Tucker Carlson didn't really convince young people to watch his show. His team just put his show on, usually on Twitter, And young people saw it on there. So it's really a savvy social media team versus him recruiting young people to come to watch cable news in general. But I saw, 3 years ago, and that was after years of observation, that if we really want to influence the course of our nation, then we're going to have to go to where young people are, which is this kind of platform. It's a much more relatable type of platform where you're having a conversation, you're thinking, you're sharing your thought process, you're working through these issues side by side with, viewers that actually become partners in your show versus just lecturing a television set, if you will, lecturing from a teleprompter to this sort of faceless void. It's an entirely different kind, a more personal, more intimate platform. And maybe that's ironic given that millennials and Gen Z have such a hard time making personal connections, but they crave that. And this has been a very effective platform. Podcasting in general has been a very effective platform. So cable news hasn't quite adapted to that. They haven't adapted actually at all to that. They haven't adapted well to this changing media landscape and the new generations and how millennials and Gen Z want to consume their media. So Tucker Carlson leaving is going to massively make that critical moment more urgent and more immediate. One thing, I do want to touch on this Don Lemon thing, the Don Lemon thing. Oh, this is so funny. When it was announced that Don Lemon was fired from CNN, I got to tell you what my reaction was. I laughed, not because I'm happy when someone loses their job. I laughed because I just had this picture of inside CNN where someone at CNN was like, oh my gosh, Tucker Carlson is fired. And someone else goes, quick, find Don Lemon and fire him because this is the one day that no one will care at all about Don Lemon because everyone's talking about Tucker Carlson. Don Lemon released a statement, which such an inadvisable statement. Like, it doesn't matter how poorly things end at a network. It's just or at any job, really. It's just inadvisable to trash your former employer. This is what Don Lemon said. I was informed this morning by my agent that I've been terminated by CNN. I'm stunned. After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought that someone in management would have had the decency to tell me directly. At no time was I ever given any indication that I would not be able to continue to do the work I've loved at the network. It's clear that there are some larger issues at play. With that said, I want to thank my colleagues and the many teams I've worked with for an incredible run. They're the most talented journalists in the business, and I wish them all the best. So that happened, but then this is the funny part. CNN Communications, their PR team, tweeted this. Let me bring this up and read this to you. They said, Don Lemon's statement about this morning's events is inaccurate. He was offered an opportunity to meet with management, but instead released a statement on Twitter. Not just funny, extra funny that CNN is calling out their employee of 17 years for being a liar, a propagator of misinformation and fake news. It only took them 17 years to figure it out. Gotta say, CNN executives, let's just say, aren't the brightest bulbs in the lamp. Hi guys, it's Liz Wheeler. Don't forget to watch my show, The Liz Wheeler Show, every night at 7 p.m. on the First TV. You can download the free First TV app, or you can visit thefirsttv.com/Liz and start watching today.